You have to pay the price when you have committed a crime, no matter what. But sometimes, people react very differently when they are sentenced to prison. In this video, we will see the most dramatic moments that took place in courts. Franklin Williams. Starting with this clip, in which you can see Franklin Williams, all in orange, standing in front of the jury awaiting a verdict. He is charged with multiple felonies, including armed robberies and fleeing from the police. He was caught by the police after a high-speed chase, arrested and brought for sentencing. This happened in Cleveland, Ohio. As you can see, while the judge was talking to him in court, Williams kept interrupting in between. This made the judge furious, and he gave him a warning multiple times, but yet he continued. This resulted in the judge ordering the officers to tape his mouth shut. At the following court appearance, Williams had something to share with the judge and turned to the camera while saying, "Freedom of speech, no duct tape." Aside from all the interruptions, the judge gave the convict a sentence of 24 years in jail. But after he got the sentence, the judge apologized for duct taping his mouth and threw out the sentence. He then appointed a new judge and she sentenced Williams to a total of 33 years behind bars. Ignacio Rodriguez. In this clip, you can see a convict named Ignacio Rodriguez, who is the suspect in the death of his 4-month-old in San Antonio, Texas. It was reported that the child suffered as no kid should, and that too from their own father. The child was found with a fractured skull and severe bleeding, leading to brain damage. Rodriguez was the lead suspect, and he was taken into custody. Now he is in a court, where he stands in front of a judge and faces a capital murder charge. But reportedly, he instead pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of intentional or knowing injury to a child causing serious bodily injury. Now, the judge hands him down with a sentence of 50 years in confinement. But at that moment, the baby's mother starts to confront Rodriguez. When she talks about her other child, Rodriguez insists that she tells the truth. He insisted that his other child also knew what had happened. After he began shouting out the same words, the court officials quickly removed Rodriguez from the courtroom. He is currently serving his 50-year prison sentence. Tanner Jacobson and Cody Howard. Tanner and Cody were in court for driving on suspended licenses. Both men will be sentenced to 30 days in jail if found guilty. While both were waiting in the court, they got the idea of escaping, except it wasn't a bright idea. 1, they were in handcuffs, and 2, you can't run from the law. But ignoring all this, the 28-year-old Howard and 22-year-old Jacobson made a run for it. But they would never have thought Judge R.W. Buzzard would chase after them immediately. When the judge saw them run, he removed his robes and gave them a chase. They made it to the final floor, but just before Howard could run through the emergency exit, Judge Buzzard grabbed him and pulled him back. Jacobson made it out of the premises, but he was caught a few blocks away. Now, if running away from justice was a person, then these two embodied them. The video of Howard and Jacobson's little run went viral, but earned them a new charge of second-degree escape. If it was not for the run, they would have been out much before. Howard was sentenced to more than 3 years in prison for his attempted escape and other charges. Jacobson, whom the judge caught saw, his sentence went from a potential 30 days to 1 year and a day for just second-degree escape. Kimberly Kessler. This is Kimberly Kessler, who is charged with the murder of her co-worker in Nassau County in Florida. She was working at a Tangles hair salon under a fake name. She, reportedly, was on the run for more than 25 years and was a wanted prime suspect in several states throughout the country. She would not have been found until she brutally murdered her co-worker with scissors and allegedly disposed of her body. In this clip, we can see Kessler after she was arrested by the officials and was awaiting trial. She then got a change in her cell as she had been misbehaving in his previous cell. As the cell officer read out her misbehaving in court, she was sentenced to spend her remaining years in another separate cell due to her outbursts. At that moment, she began constantly making false claims about her former public defender. She was later found guilty of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Christopher McNabb. This man was convicted on the charges of the murder of his 2-week-old child in Covington, Georgia. After the child's mother reported a missing case to the local police, the local law enforcement officers immediately launched a search for the baby. Later that night, McNabb is seen in front of the TV cameras, begging for his child back. The next day, the body of the child was found near a wooded area. When investigated about the cause of death it was found that there had been blunt force trauma to the head, which was later ruled a homicide. McNabb was then arrested and charged with the murder of his own 2-week-old baby. After he was found guilty, he was then taken in front of the judge for his sentencing. McNabb can then be heard claiming his innocence. After pleading not guilty in the court, the judge lets him unknowingly choose his own sentence, to which he replies that he wants the murderer to be sentenced to life in prison. All his acts of innocence went down the drain after the judge sentenced him to life in prison. Arthur Booth. This is Arthur Booth, and what that followed when he came for his trial in the court would bring tears to your eyes. Arthur Booth was a bright honor student in middle school and earned the admiration of many of his classmates. He was gifted in science and math, but it all went downhill for him when he became involved in drugs, gambling, and petty crimes. Booth's addiction to gambling and crack cocaine means he was always looking for a quick fix. These all led him to a life of petty crimes. He has been in and out of jail since he was a teenager, ditching his dreams and ruining any chance of making something out of his life. Although he wasn't involved in any violent theft, burglary was one of his go-to crimes. On one such occasion in 2015, the 49-year-old was spotted driving a car that was reported stolen in a robbery. He was then arrested after he led the police in a chase rather than stopping when told. His charges landed him in Judge Mindy Glazer's Miami-Dade bond court, where his bond was set at $43,000 or a year in jail if he couldn't pay. However, just as the judge was done with the sentencing, she asked if he went to Nautilus for middle school. To his surprise, he recognized the judge at that moment. He recollected that they went to the same middle school. The judge also recalled how she admired him in school and wondered what became of him. He was the best kid in middle school. I used to play football with him and all the kids. And look at what happened. After hearing this, he couldn't hold back his tears. And by the look of that, we could understand how much he was regretting his life decisions. He served 10 months in prison, but the unusual reunion with his classmate affected his life. He fought his addiction problems and made a better life for himself. Kyandria Cook. In this next clip, we will see Kyandria Cook, who was found guilty of carjacking charges in Volusia County in Florida. The 18-year-old Cook and her then 17-year-old boyfriend have used a dating app to set up a carjacking, where the boyfriend reportedly shot the victim, leaving him seriously injured. After fleeing the scene and being on the run, the pair attempted another carjacking just 2 days after, but they were arrested, and Cook stands in front of the court for her involvement in the theft and shooting. After the judge gave her a sentence of 20 years in confinement, her mother, who was sitting in the row, started to break down. The reason behind this heartbreaking scene was due to the miscommunication by the public defender between Cook and her mother. The mother never thought her child would be given 20 years in jail. Cook's sentence was later reduced to 11 years. With that, we have come to the end of this video. For more videos like this, click on the links you see on the screen. If you like this video, then make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We will come back with more court videos. Until then, goodbye.